All right, welcome back. Now it's time for us to get into some conversations on nutrition. This morning we're going to be, delving into a very important conversation. Sometimes marginalized people tend to be ignored when it comes to some of these conversations that we have. We talk about health, talk about nutrition, and so on. So you tend to, ignore marginalized people, and meanwhile they are part of our society, and sometimes the conversations are very, very important for us to get into. Use the hashtag Breakfast Daily for us to hear what you're thinking. 0550-585832 is the WhatsApp line if you want to message us. Nutritionist who is Akosia Kunedu Yadom is right here with us, and she's going to help us to understand a bit better about nutrition for persons that are living with Down syndrome. Good morning, Akosia. How are you?
Good morning, Kwaku and Frema.
Hi, Akosia. How are you doing?
Fine, yourselves?
Yeah,
Very
good.
well, thank you.
Very
Very
good.
well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You look awesome. I like the turquoise jacket.
Thank you. It's a pressure.
Now you sound like somewhere that I know. Anyway, so let's just go straight to our conversation. But let's start with Down syndrome. When we say someone is living with Down syndrome or someone has Down syndrome, what are we talking about?
Now, we are made up of cells as human beings, and chromosomes are found in cells. Where chromosome 21 is affected, then it leads to that. And they have developmental impairments, and certain things are obvious about them. For instance, when you are pregnant as a woman, you can even test within the second trimester to know if your baby has Down syndrome. There is a diagnostic test that is done during second trimester to know if you have that. If you're unable to do that and the child is born, the child will come with certain presentations like flat facial presentations, and then smaller heads, and then smaller ears. It should let you know that your child has Down syndrome, and obviously a pediatrician will be there to give you that diagnosis for you to know that this is the situation. And so it is very, very important once a child is out and has Down syndrome, like to start with by answering your question of what Down syndrome is. There are three types, but trisomy 21, or what we call the chromosome 21 Down syndrome, is the one that is very common. And then we have the translocation one, and then we have the one which is very, very rare. That is the mosaicism. That one you hardly come across it. But what we have common has to do with the first one, which is the trisomy or the chromosome 21 type of what you call it, Down syndrome.
Okay. Now, how difficult is it caring for children like that?
It's very difficult. They are very special. As a matter of fact, to think of the fact that they have swallowing issues, they have chewing issues, because of the fact that certain things that needs to develop due to the condition, they don't have it happening like it has to happen. For instance, they have smaller oral cavities. And so when you're feeding babies like that, for instance, for pregnant lactating mothers, I always say that you do cup and spoon for them, because one, they have swallowing issues, they have suckling issues, and so the tendency to have even breast milk come out whilst they are suckling can happen. Most of them are mostly breathing out of their mouth. And so if breastfeeding means that I am latching onto the breast, the nipple plus the areola and suckling, and I need to breathe through that same mouth. You can imagine that's the reason why sometimes it comes out, and it's so sad. So to give the child every nutrition he or she will need, because that's what I need, and to make sure this child is thriving, because undernutrition or overweight is very common among them, and then obesity or overnutrition is also common among them, and whilst the conversation progresses, we'll know why it happens so in some of them. And so it's very important that we really pay attention to them and give them every extra care they will need, because then you have a child who is at 2 and is supposed to eat this, let's say half cup of this, or even full 3, 4, and they need to be assisted, because chewing for this child is a problem. Swallowing is a problem. Where there is a need for suckling to happen is a problem.
So how do you care for such a child, in terms of nutrition?
So that's why I said for breastfeeding babies, you need to make sure you put baby to the breast, because if you are just doing cup and spoon, it will be difficult for breast milk production to happen. So for mothers like that, what I would tell you to do is that put baby to the breast so that nature can happen. Information will be sent to the brain to keep releasing breast milk. So once information is sent, the work of prolactin is activated to keep producing the breast milk. Once baby has been put on the breast for a while, bring baby down and then express into a cup, and with a spoon scoop it for the child, and then bep the child like you do after breastfeeding, just to make sure breastfeeding continues, production happens, and this child doesn't have to lose, let's say, 4 out of 5 of this cup. It means that undernutrition is bound to set in. And so for a breastfeeding child, that is it. For a child who is now being fed, and that's the most important thing, there are certain things you need to really be guided on. They have celiac disease, and that is where when it gets worse, there is inflammation of the lining of the smaller intestines, so they begin to suffer a lot of digestive issues. You need to make sure you are giving them food free of gluten. Now, they are gluten-free foods. And so if you're a mother who is weaning your child or is also moving out of exclusive breastfeeding, be deliberate about the choices you are making. Because when celiac happens, it means that it makes it difficult for the smaller intestines to work because of the inflammation done to them by what is foreign or deemed foreign to the smaller intestines because of the condition.
Okay, so now let's not speak science, let's speak English.
Celiac,
I'm just asking something. So for instance, what are the practical stuff that I can give? So maybe if you are weaning your baby off the breast milk, you know, with a Down syndrome, you should be given maybe porridge. You should be giving fruit puree. You should be, you know,
so now
specifics.
With the gluten-free foods, we have a balanced diet for that matter. So now a gluten-free food, for instance, oat is whole. It's natural. Wheat. So you can make your own whenemies where you can have oat. You can pick, I love yellow corn because it is naturally fortified. And so the combinations you are putting together can be something that can help. So let's say this is a gluten-free presentation. Yellow corn, like I said, I love it. It's naturally fortified. And then we have potato being there. If you find exotic ones, why not? But I prefer the local ones. They are cheaper and they are naturally fortified too with beta carotene, which will do something good for your child too. So we have meat. The examples, the classical example of a food I can make out of this. I have chicken. I can get the breast and then boil it and have a broth solution or broth being part of it. Pump in some vegetables like carrots and then have a bit of the chicken in there with potato, add a bit of onions, tomatoes, and then make a nice puree out of it. If we should mark it with a WHO specification for us as far as our eating is concerned, it will satisfy the balanced diet category or the 4-star diet specification for us to eat. So let's take tomatoes and onions for fruits and vegetable categories, the potato, the staples or the carbohydrates, and then we have the mineral salt. Definitely we'll put a pinch of salt in there. Some use mackerels for their soups, and so you can have something extra added to it. And the Akans, they love cooking with this white beans, and so you satisfy this pulses, nuts and seed category. If you have even broth is so light for you and you want to use something like light soup, you can use that with the chicken. And then potato, I will put in extra because they don't eat much too. And so you need to make sure whatever you are giving them is high as far as nutritional content is concerned, so that the little that goes in is able to do some good for them. So I'll add carrots and then blend it all in and feed this child with it. This is something that is very healthy, and they are highly susceptible to infection. So you need to make sure that their fruit intake game is also spot on. So we have vitamin C rich fruits like orange, oranges, and we have pineapple, depending on the age of the child. This can also help. Fiber is very, very good too. Once it has to do with digestion, because a lot of them also suffer constipation. You need to make sure that their foods are blessed with lots of fiber, so that anything that would tamper with their smaller intestines is taken care of.
So in terms of specifics, what shouldn't you give them?
So gluten, made, and sometimes supplements. They are mothers because they think these children are special. They hear Frema talk about this, they want to jump on it. They hear Kwaku speak about this and they want to jump on it. One key thing about them is that sometimes, because they are deficient of certain nutrients, and please pay attention to this for me, vitamin B12 or cobalamin, they are highly deficient to that. They can suffer iron and folate deficiency. So a lot of them have blood disorders. It's very common. There are three key things common with them. Blood disorders, which can lead to even leukemia if it is left untreated. And then they have aside that, they have heart defects, and in some people they have heart murmurs, and so for them sometimes cardiac surgeries are required to make them feel good. And then immune deficiency or immune system compromise, so you need to make sure your vitamin C, A, vitamin D, E, iron, folate, and the iron, any meat you take will bless you with iron, and then the folate, any vegetable, pulses, nuts. So we have people cooking with seeds, fenugreek, all types of seed, beans, those categories. Whatever is peculiar to you based on where you're coming from, make sure it forms part of this child's meal to make
So
sure
I go back to my question. For instance, I have a baby or I have a child, you know, who is Down syndrome. What should give the parents do? Just as you've taken us through, give them this kind of meat, you know, make sure you get a broth, make sure you add something to it because of the nutritional level and the fact that it can't take so much, you know. What should you not do? Because when we just leave things in the open, there are specifics, you know, that might not help, but people might not know.
Like we spoke about whole foods, you have no business giving processed stuffs to these children. And then try as much, like I said, I'm hammering on the gluten-free foods, like the whole foods.
So for instance, if I go to the supermarket, I shouldn't be buying food like that for a child.
For a child. There are lots of mothers, because of their schedules, they want an easy way out. And sometimes the processed foods, I am in for business, and so sometimes a lot of them wouldn't factor the true or actual need of the child into whatever is being produced. So make sure whatever you lift, even if you have to compromise sometimes, has the right readings on it. If it is filled with gluten, don't give it to this child because of the fact that they are prone to certain things, and blood disorder is something that is serious. Make sure whatever you are feeding them, they are special. So I believe that you need to squeeze time, and if you need to even find help so that the person can help you with preparing this child's meal, so that you can incorporate the examples we spoke about. Folate, any leafy green available to you can help this child. Any iron-rich foods, meat, anything as far as plant protein or animal protein will go a long way to help this child. And be very careful with supplements. They are very good for them because of the deficiencies they suffer. But if you don't do it with the guidance of a nutritionist plus a pediatrician, you can hurt this child.
So if you have a school-going child, okay, who is also a Down syndrome patient, how do you prepare them for school? Because there are special schools for children like that. But also as a parent, you know, they're also catering for quite a number. So as a parent, you know, packing their lunch, packing their snacks and stuff like that, what should you be looking at?
So I will work with the Down syndrome and nutritional related issues. Now, your Down syndrome child might not have heart defects, because it's said that 40 to 50% of them all have the heart defects, but you may be lucky yours doesn't have heart defects. So as far as being worried about heart issues is concerned, you are only doing what we all do just to make sure that our hearts are on check. Now, if you have celiac disease, then you need to be deliberate. Talk to the school. Whatever they are giving your child should be something that doesn't interfere with the smaller intestines of your child, to push your child to a zone where it will be more Now it will be you as a parent taking
Exactly.
care of it. So I believe that you should discuss with a nutritionist and a pediatrician and know what affects your child. If the child has heart disorders, if the child has thyroid disorders. Now, it is very, very important with this, and it's very important to me. If you have a child with Down syndrome, until the child is 5 years, every year, you have to check for hypothyroidism to make sure that this thing is taken care of, because it can be impairing a lot of things. It can lead to rapid weight gain. So if you have a Down syndrome child who is always gaining weight, like fast, you need to make sure you check for the thyroid levels of this child. And after age 5, if you have a school-going child that is 6, you need to make sure once every 2 years that test is done for the rest of the child's life, to make sure that yes, you are doing so. Below age 5 is once a year. After 5 throughout till your child is ready to leave this earth, you need to do it once every 2 years.
Now, some people say that I mean, and you can imagine that it must be quite expensive, you know, maintaining this kind of a diet for a child like this. But it's your child. How do we do what we need to do as parents, and yet with a decent budget?
So I always say that, one, to start with, if you meet me at a, as a nutritionist at a private facility, you definitely will need to pay more. If you meet a nutritionist at the government facility, you may not even have to pay for anything. So let's start from there. Get professional help. Once you have your national health insurance card, a pediatrician and nutritionist will be at your disposal. So you need to get that, so that at least the cost of those professionals will be taken care of. Now, as a family, there is no need for you to prepare this child's meal different. What you need to do is to modify what you are eating as a family, so that it can suit this child. An example, this afternoon, Frema wants to eat, let's say, gobe. But
I don't mind anyway.
Yes, so let's say there is a Down syndrome child around, and she would want to just help by feeding this child. She can twist it by making sure that, oh, I fetch some of the stew, make sure I pump lots of vegetables in there, or fiber-rich vegetables like carrots. Carrots work excellently for babies. And then instead of, let's say, depending on the age of the child, if this is a child who is on complementary feed after being exclusively breastfed, you can just boil your plantain instead of frying it, and then mash it in your beans to create this smooth paste, because they have swallowing issues, and so their food should be presented in a way that it is friendlier, because they have their oral cavity is very restricted or small. So you can modify whatever you are eating as a family. Another example, we are having chicken soup with fufu. I'll put a local potato, I want beta carotene, extra nutrients for this child. So I'll fetch some of the soup, take the skin off obviously, blend it all in, put in a finger of carrot, and then fetch my soup, my chicken, my carrot, and then my sweet potato all together, boiled, and then blended in. This is a balanced diet. So you don't need to prepare something different. You can just get the potato, because we already have the soup, we already have every vegetable around.
How do people get in touch with you?
Okay, so you can follow me or message me on Instagram at The Nutritionist Akosia, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Nutritionist Akosia, and you can WhatsApp me on 0243 350206. It's very important to me, so I can show you my facility so that you can benefit for free, and then get a multivitamin for that child also for free.
Right, we're speaking about how to help your child who may have Down syndrome to eat healthily and, you know, without breaking the bank.